Mr. Ewing?
Hello, hi, how are things?
Hi, how are you, sir? I am pronouncing your name right. Mr. Ewing, right?
Yeah, no,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the call and doing the interview and whatnot. So, sir, your Immortal Hulk is a monster success, if you don't mind the pun. Can you please tell me your mindset for getting into this series, this title?
Well, one second, just to put this on. Yeah, basically, it came from Bruce Banner being dead, essentially. In that he was sort of, we'd done this thing, or rather, Marvel had done this thing, but they'd killed him off. And then he'd had a couple of sort of minor resurrections since then. And basically, around Avengers No Surrender, the Avengers crossover I was working on, we basically we kind of had the problem of, how do we, if we want to bring the Hulk back, and we did, it was time, how do we do it in such a way that is, not as we've already brought him back. So we had this thing where it was basically, I kind of suggested that in the room that maybe in the writer's room that maybe he should just come back. Maybe that's part of what the Hulk is, and that kind of in turn sort of suggested this sort of a horror take on it. And I kind of road tested that a little bit in Avengers No Surrender, and that didn't automatically sort of get me the gig. I had to kind of pitch for it, but it did sort of suggest a tone, this kind of horror tone, which is the one that we've been using. So that's kind of where it came from. It just came out of circumstance, and it was one of those things where an idea is sort of generated by, like, where the character is, and then you sort of take a look at the character. I mean, taking a look at the Hulk, it's sort of, he has been a horror character, many times, and he started out that way. So yeah, it does feel like a sort of moving back to the very earliest incarnation.
Mm. I'm noticing, in my opinion, an Alfred Hitchcock influence on this book. Am I wrong?
I haven't been consciously thinking about Alfred Hitchcock. I mean, I guess I'll be honest. I've not watched that many Hitchcock films. I think I've seen Psycho, and that's about it. I think what it might be is that there are sort of certain kind of universal suspense tropes that maybe Hitchcock used and maybe we use, and it's like just in terms of comics being a sort of visual medium, and a medium that's very much built around kind of timing and the falling of beats in certain patterns. It's I don't know. I guess there are certain ways of sort of arranging that and kind of building the suspense that might be sort of reminiscent of something like Hitchcock without kind of without actually recalling Hitchcock. It's not a director I've been thinking of consciously. I'm sorry about that.
Understood. You've created a lot of characters in your fairly short time at Marvel, one of them being another Hulk, Robert Maveric. But with all these characters that you've created, and also you gave the name Spectrum to Monica Rambeau, kudos to that, sir. I see a lot of what you do seems to really revolve around the cosmic, I think, more than anything else. The co-creation of Voyager, you made Galactus into the Lifebringer, you combined several cosmic characters into Logos, you made the Progenitors. Your Ultimates 2 books were out of this, excuse another pun, out of this world. Where did you get the inspiration to write these cosmic level books and actually change the Marvel cosmos?
I mean, I think is I guess I'm heavily influenced by people like Stalin, Jim Stalin, or Steve Englehart, and obviously Jack Kirby is a huge influence on me. But not in the sense of wanting to sort of go back and use all of their stuff and kind of, take the characters that they invented and sort of give them another, run around the paddock. I think what inspires me about the Marvel creators of old is it's not so much the characters they created as the fact that they created them. The kind of what they did, which was take this kind of this fictional universe and kind of use it as a sort of framework to talk about things that were important to them. And generally, when I'm sort of bringing in these big cosmic characters, it's not just to have a big person, wander up and be important. It's to kind of to talk about things that interest me through and concepts that interest me through the medium of these sort of larger than life sort of anthropomorphic personalities. I remember with the Ultimates, I was thinking a lot about sort of free will and the possibility of change. And so, it's like turning Galactus into a sort of big gold person was more about the kind of metaphor than the plot point. And I kind of had a lot of people in that book. I had a lot of sort of openly calling out that this was a metaphor, that this was this wasn't just a fight, that this was like an actual kind of argument. So I guess it's like that. It's basically trying to follow in the footsteps of these sort of great Marvel creators of the 60s and 70s and kind of try and do what they did rather than do that thing of the other way of sort of looking into the past, which just to bring back all the old toys and kind of showcase them again.
Fantastic. Hearing you talk about this stuff is amazing to me. Real quick question: how did you manage to pull Joe Bennett and Paul Mounts into the Immortal Hulk books?
That was all Tom Brevoort. He was the original editor on the book, and he basically saw that Joe had a potential for great horror. And I think what how we originally put it was that Joe's Hulk was solid. Joe's Hulk had weight, and Joe was somebody who could deliver a Hulk with sort of weight and mass and solidity. And then, it turns out that he's also good at creating these horrific creations that also have weight and mass and solidity. So, it's just a really good pick from Tom. Before, I think the last Joe Bennett book I really remember before. Of course, he did some amazing work on the Hulk, long ago, which I think we'll actually be referring to. But he also, I sort of remember him from books like Captain America and the Falcon and The Crew, when his style was very different from what it is now, although you can still see that it's the same person. So yeah, I wouldn't have thought of him. My knowledge isn't that deep. And it's the same with Paul Mounts. It's Tom has this amazing encyclopedic knowledge of creators. It's a lot is made of his knowledge of continuing characters, but he has this encyclopedic knowledge of creators, and he knows who could be the ideal person to go on any particular book. So So yeah, he and Alana Smith are the people who tracked him.
So I heard this little rumor that you enjoy doing little sketches of the Hulk also for commissions.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually going to be asking money for those this time. But you know, yeah, that's anything I'm trying. But yeah, no, I do little sketches. I do kind of sort of sketch covers and things. I'm not obviously I'm not on the Joe Bennett level. I'm not on anybody's level, but it's like I have a certain cartoony ability to draw, you know, a few of the great Marvel characters and also Batman. So yeah, no, I like doing that, and you know, I think it, yeah, if people want one of those, they can get that.
Before our time ends up, I wonder if you could just give me a brief summary of your inspirations for when you're about to write a new book.
Well,
so where do you actually seek inspiration is what I meant to ask. Sorry.
Oh, right. I tend to kind of, obviously, when you're working in a shared universe, a certain amount of the inspiration comes from the books of the past in that universe, and the creators of the past have sort of gone before. Like I say, you know, people like Jack Kirby and Jim Starlin have been influences. Aside from that, it'll generally be something I do a lot of kind of nosing around online. I go to the library and stuff, and I'll sort of and you know, sometimes I'll just wander around the house. But generally, if I sort of know there's something that kind of resonates or strikes a chord, that'll go into something. That'll go in somewhere. It's basically, which I think is no different from how any other writer does it. It's just like, you know, you osmose all of the stuff. I don't think anybody ever got to be a good comic writer by just reading comics. Maybe anything else does. So it's usually stuff from somewhere else that kind of finds its way into the work as well as, you know, all the great old comics. But again, I don't think that's any different from how any other writer does it. I think everybody sort of, you know, finds stuff, reads stuff that's completely separate from like what they were gonna, and there'll be something in it. There'll be some kind of tiny spark in that becomes an idea, and then the idea goes into the script. And I can't imagine other people's ways of doing it is very different from that.
Wow. Thank you so much for taking this call, sir.
No problem. Thank you.
Bye-bye.